Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Captain Simon Sykes. This evening, we warmly welcome the family of Sergeant Ronald Joshua Bell, whose story will be told shortly. We also warmly welcome Flight Lieutenant Richard Cassar Thwaites, retired, representing the Air Force Association. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Return and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Club Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is God by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Thank you. If you're able, you may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Sergeant Ronald Joshua Bell. Ronald Bell was born on the 19th of March 1921 in Summerhill, New South Wales. He was the elder son of two sons born to First World War veteran Russell Bell and his wife Elizabeth. Ronald grew up in the suburbs of Sydney and received his early education at Eastwood Primary School. He later attended Fort Street Boys High School and was a keen sportsman, enjoying playing cricket, rugby and tennis. On completion of his schooling, Ronald began studying an engineering course at Sydney Technical College. When the Second World War broke out in 1939, he was working for the Maritime Services Board of New South Wales as a cadet draftsman. Ronald Bell enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force on the 16th of September 1940. He was mustered as aircrew and began initial training at Bradfield Park on the outskirts of Sydney. He later undertook elementary flying training at Narrandera in November before returning to Sydney in January 1941. Later that month, he embarked for Canada, arriving in mid-February. There he joined No. 4 Service Flying Training School in Saskatoon and gained hours of flight training in aircraft, including the Cessna crane. In June 1941, Bell was awarded his flying badge and embarked for England. As part of the Empire training scheme, he was one of almost 27,500 RAAF pilots, navigators, wireless operators, air gunners and flight engineers who, throughout the course of the war, joined Royal Air Force squadrons or Australian squadrons based in Britain. In England, Bell was allocated to No. 27 Operational Training Unit at the Royal Air Force Base Litchfield. He and his comrades trained as night bomber crew and learned to fly Vickers Wellington twin-engined long-range medium bombers. In September, Bell was allocated to his first operational unit, No. 99 Squadron, Royal Air Force. Based in Waterbridge in Cambridgeshire, the squadron formed part of No. 3 Group of Bomber Command and was responsible for undertaking night bombing raids against targets in enemy-occupied Europe. Ronnie, as he was known, took part in his first operational mission a few days after joining his new squadron. Targeting the city of Genoa in Italy, adverse weather saw Bell and his crew recalled to base before they were able to release their bombs. Over the weeks that followed, he took part in 2 attacks on the German city of Bremen, a well-known industrial hub which included shipyards, oil refineries, and the Focke-Wulf aircraft works. On the 21st of November, Bell took part in an attack on the French city of Brest. Returning safely to base, he was next called into action 6 days later to join an attack on the German capital, Berlin. Bell and his comrades took off and headed for the target. Cloud cover obscured most of the city, making it difficult for the bombing crews to release the bombs on target and identify the damage caused. At the conclusion of the raid, it was discovered that 3 aircraft had failed to return from the mission. Among the missing was Sergeant Bell and the crew of Wellington T-2554. It was not until 1942 that Bell's fate was confirmed, when a number of his comrades were discovered to be prisoners of war in Germany. They revealed that their Wellington had begun to ice up during the raid on Berlin and that the crew were forced to evacuate. They noted that Bell was the first to exit the aircraft. However, his parachute failed to open during his descent. His remains were later located near the wreckage of the Wellington. Today, his remains lie in the Beckington War Ceremony in Germany, beneath the words chosen by his family. "He that believeth in me, hath everlasting life. Ronald Bell was 20 years old. His name is listed on the roll of honour to my left, amongst almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Sergeant Ronald Joshua Bell, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We'll remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.